Hi, I'm Kingston, representing Relax and Foods podcast. And it's already the second month of the year. We're in February already, and the year is almost wrapping up. But we still have a long way to go. And conversations like this are important because they help to galvanize us for the year, help to keep our foot right firm on the ground with probably what should be termed as the best information that we should get. And while thinking about what the conversation for this month would look like, I couldn't but to remember what we had last month, which was we looked at a man called Blind Bartimaeus and how in his situation he had people who were always willing to help him with alms. But when his day for redemption came, those people became his greatest, tragedy, as it were. And what we learned from that was the importance of people, and of course, how to be self-reliant, and how to pick the best people around you. Well, we have a man who is in a contrary situation, slightly opposite situation per se, and how the lack of people limited his growth. And of course, we will now see how society tried to conform him to what was normal. I'm talking about a particular man in John chapter 5 who was at a place called Bethesda. Yeah, very important. And this man's story, I'm going to be sharing it from various perspectives. One, situation, also question, then response, then we have the call, what I will call the call, and do not conform, then of course the ultimate instruction, don't go back. And how does this whole wrap up to this man's story, and how does that concern us? Well, as we forge ahead, I'm going to be sharing some context with our human lives and how we can learn from that. So let's begin. There's a particular man who has been sick for 38 years. He was at a particular point in his life where I believe he probably must have given hope, because he'd been in a particular situation for a very long time, 38 years. I'm just 31, recently turned 31, right? And I can't believe that someone has been in a particular situation in his life, right, all through my existence here on earth and 7 years after. Thinking about that, it tells a lot about most of us. Some of us may not have been in a particular situation for 38 years, but we have been in a place longer than we should. And when we begin to look at the situation that has kept us in that particular point for that long, right, they are not far-fetched. One, we seem to be in that situation with others. So like as this man, where he was, there were other sick people there as well, as the Bible would record. Blind, lame, paralyzed, and all that sort. So probably he has, conformed to what, the situation would present himself. Sometime ago in my life, I used to be a bus conductor, right? Back then in Port Harcourt, we used to go the route of Borokrini Road down to Rumokoro. Sometimes we used to go advance more than in Morocco, depending on the driver you're working with. And I remember that it was because of lack of job, and of course I hate being broke, right? Or I hate being idle. I thought about being a bus conductor to support myself, neglecting the fact that I was a graduate. So it was a very, very complicated time in my life. I worked with people who don't even know how to write my phone number, but yet they'll be the one that would insult me. So in that situation, it's easier for you to want to just blend in, because after all, you would most likely find other graduates as well, right? Or at least those other people who are doing the job, they are also humans per se, right? So there's always a need for you to want to settle in a particular situation and claim that situation to be yours, because you're not the only one that is there, right? And when we look at those kind of appeal, they somehow gives us comfort, right, to be able to manage the suffering, right, to be able to come to terms with such suffering, and we can choose to linger a bit. We can choose to be there a bit because we have other people in that situation. That was where this man was. He was in a place in his life where he and other people were suffering. But then the story is about this particular young man, which of course in this case would put you in that context. So Jesus Christ met him, and Jesus Christ saw him, and Jesus Christ asked him, do you want to get well? That was a very beautiful question. I'm very sure at every point in our lives, we all have that question that brings us to realization that where we are isn't where we should be. But then again, it's for most of the time, it's just a question or a thought or something that comes through our mind and be like, I shouldn't be at this place at this time, or rather, don't I think that I am more than enough, or can't I actually achieve XYZ if I really want to, right? There are questions like that comes to our mind, and oftentimes we're like, okay, I think I should push further, but such questions is not enough. For instance, do you want to get better this year? Everybody will say yes. But then there are situations that would come around us that would make us forget. Most of us, this is February, most of us have already forgotten what our New Year resolution was, for those of us who made. And those of us who did not make, most of us have forgotten about what we said last year that we won't do this year. So often at times, that wake-up call, that wake-up question remains a question, and it dies as a question. No response to that. No activity is done towards that. There is no push, there is no momentum that want to compel us to take actions that answers or that responds to that question. So we are just comfortable. Well, after all, I'm not the only one going through the hardship now. There are many people. There would be lots of reasons as to why you should not take up that push in life. So many reasons. Whatever reasons you want in life, right, for your situation to remain the way it is, you have it. I came from a poor home. No wahala, you will have it. Oh, I can't read and write. No wahala, you will have it. Oh, I have bad character. No wahala. If you want to remain where you are in life, in fact, there are more reasons why you should remain where you are in life as compared to reasons why you should even grow. Hey, I'm dark-skinned. Nobody will believe in me. There are more reasons why you should remain where you are in life and you should grow. Then, of course, there are more reasons why you should not respond to such questions as you would. Oh, that one, he does this, she does that, they are into XYZ, he's into XYZ, and all that joined together, right, are reasons why, I've often heard somebody say something like, for you to be wealthy in this life, you have to loot, you have to steal, you have to. And he gives that as a reason as to why he is not wealthy. Because he will say, well, for me, I cannot steal, I cannot loot, I cannot. But there are hardworking people out there. There are people who have been able to build something for themselves, right, just by putting in their best effort. There are people who have been able to create a life for themselves just by putting in their best effort. So when Jesus Christ probably asked this man, do you want to get well? It was a situation of, do you want to live? And if you follow this story very well, you would see that Jesus Christ told him how not to go back to where he came from. Because it's important, it's not just about the healing, it's not just you living that comfort. I took that decision some time ago last year, right? I said that, okay, I was done with Nigeria. I had to go further in life. I had to do something bigger in life. I located down to Rwanda. At some point last year, I wanted to come back to Nigeria because it was crazy over here in Rwanda. The market I had assumed was not the market I saw, right? My skills, my competencies, all of other abilities I have, I couldn't see how I could put them in use in Rwanda. So I wanted to, it took 2 dreams. I had 2 dreams where I was instructed, don't go back to Nigeria. And you will see what that would mean in this man's life. Because Jesus Christ told him, don't go back. Yeah, so let's proceed. So his response was, I have no one to push me in the water. Before I would go in, someone else have entered the water. So usually that pool, an angel comes once in a year, right? Stirs the pool. Anyone who gets in first gets healed. right? That was how, that was how the healing, right, of that pool comes about. And that's why you have lots of people lying there, because it's once in a year. But when that man had said that, something in me woke up, right? I have no one to push me. Now I've done this podcast before, but I think I did at Spotify, right? But I was not this detailed, and I said that for this particular space, I was going to pour out my heart. It can take 30 minutes, right? I was going to pour out my heart because I think I have a lot to say about this particular man's story. But when the man said that there was nobody to push him into the pool, right? That is a reason for him to remain in that situation. I have nobody to help me. Before I would get in, somebody else must have gotten him. It was not just about the man getting in that's the problem, is that he has nobody. Well, that is an excuse. How does that concern us? For most of us, the reason why we are where we are, because, in local, informal Nigerian term, we call it updates. Nobody to give us information. Before we get any information, it's probably too late. Right? But then again, the man has been there for 38 years, so it means that he probably knows what time the angel would come and stir the water, and people should come in. So pretty much he's aware of the times and the seasons, and then he acts late. Before he gets in, somebody probably must have gotten in, so it means he acts late. And that's the thing with most of us, is that we act late to stuff. Some time ago, someone has sent me a link, said, "Kingston, please, these guys would like to hear from you, right? Respond to them." It took me 2 days to respond to that request. And when I was preparing for this podcast, I asked myself, "Kingston, that is also the same situation you did 2 days ago." Sometimes we are just too late to respond, and we miss the opportunity. Sometimes we are just too scared to start that business. Sometimes we are just too scared to start the idea. Sometimes we are just too scared to go. And because of that, we miss out on the opportunity, right, that comes with we being at the forefront. And other times, we don't even have the information. So before the information will pass from Jerry to Peter to Paul and comes to us, it's already too late. So this man faced two different situations here. One, himself, he gets let into the pool. In our case, most of us, we have nobody to give us the right information. And that's where mentorship comes in. I've been privileged to have a very good circle. I have an amazing mentor, the person of Mr. Franklin Peters, who most often would often give me information ahead of time. So I'm prepared ahead of time. It helps me to make decisions ahead of time, and I've benefited from those informations as well. So I understand what it means to have late information. Sometime 4 years ago, I remember when I was trading cryptocurrency, a signal was dropped in the night by someone, and I only got the signal the next day morning when I woke up. Without paying attention to the markets, I rushed in. That was one of the most painful trades I've ever experienced in my life. Well, I lost. In fact, that trade almost liquidated me. That was as a result of late reaction to information. Right? And this, we can talk about this particular conversation all day. Information, prompt information, the essence of information, the essence of being in the circle where you can never go wrong with a timely information. Never. That's what distinguishes people. And this man had that issue. And when Jesus Christ had listened to him, I'm very sure Jesus Christ, being as compassionate as he was, felt, okay, this is the reason you're giving for why you are here. This is why you are here. Now let's make something out of it. Carry your bag and go. Immediately, the man took his bag and left. What does this show you? It shows you that for this man's problem, really, he has been there for that long because he truly had nobody to help him. Not because he acts late to information. This is very deep because I never considered it when I was preparing for this podcast. Immediately he was told to get up, he got up and left where he was. For most of us, all we need is information for me to succeed. For most of us, all we need to grow, to become, is information. Yeah, we need to be in the circle where they are discussing the right things. We need to be in the place because we have the ability to do. So how can you get there? That's the next thing we should start asking ourselves, because if you sit and wait for the right information, you will never get it. You have to be in those circles. You have to be in those circles. You have to be there. How can we be in those circles? For most of us, we just have to be in the circles where things are happening, where things actually work, where things are actually progressing, because that is what will differentiate us from where we are and where we should be. But how do you get there? That is one part you need to discover for yourself. How can you be the best? How can you grow? How can you improve yourself? How can you be proactive? Those are conversations you yourself would have, because for this young man, he got the information, Ogbeni, carry your bag and leave. He just got it and left. And for my international people, Ogbeni means my brother, right? It's a Nigerian word that means my brother, my friend. And that was how this guy's situation changed. Now, when he had taken his bag and left because he had listened to the instruction of Jesus, something happened. And this is where most people in life, right, get stuck. It is, so yes, you have this beautiful idea. So yes, you want to start up that business. So yes, you want to start up that company. You finally got in the light. You've been waiting for a moment like this. You actually wanted a push. Now you have someone that will tell you, yes, pitch to me your dream. I want to invest in you. Or you finally got in that nudge, that energy that you've always wanted, for that breakthrough that you've always imagined. It's now here. You want to take the action. So he took up his bag. He was leaving. And the next thing that will happen there was that the elders saw him and said, today is Sabbath. You are not allowed to take your bag and leave. Who told you to take your bag and leave? This is someone that has been sick for 38 years in a situation. This is somebody who has been in a particular place for 30. Do you know how long 38 years is? 38 years is so long that I was born in 1993. This is 2025. I was born December. By December, I'll be 32 years. So it simply means someone who is 38 years currently, right, was somewhere born around 1988. My God. So imagine that somebody has been sick since 1988 till 2025. Now, we don't know if the guy was born sick, but for him to be there, it seems he has lived, longer than he should, right? Because obviously he's an adult. But so most likely somebody has been at a particular position in life from 1988 to 2025. The guy finally got the desire to begin something great. And society is asking him, who told you that you can make this dream work? Yeah. Who told you that you can be this? Who told you that you can be that? There are lots of us that society have written us off. There was a point in my life where I think I was written off, right? I wouldn't know because, at the end of the day, I've learned that whatever decisions you want to take in your life solely depends on you, whether you have people who believe in you or not. The whole world can choose not to believe in you. It doesn't affect you from being great. I've heard people who said, it is because I have nobody who believed in me. Nobody saw that I'll be great. Well, that's your issue. The whole world can tell you you can't be this, and you can still become. Because it depends on you. This guy has been sick. Oh God, this guy has been sick for 38 years. Finally got his breakthrough. Someone is telling him that you are not supposed to take your bag and walk because today is Sabbath. You are not supposed to think like this. I remember some time ago, a very long time ago, I was sharing, a long time, almost 9 years ago. Yes, 9 years ago of my life. I was sharing my goals, my aspirations with a friend, with my very close friend then. And she said, Kingson, your thoughts are weird. you will not be able to achieve this. She said it. And that was the day I said in my heart that, Omo, you can't be my friend. It's not because we should not have people who will not believe in us or will not tell us the truth when we are thinking foolishly. But there is a thought that emanates from deep conviction. I have finally seen the light. I ran for departmental president in my department and I won. And all through the election, I was the underdog until a day to the election. I had contestants or candidates who were way better than me, a lot better than me. Their CGP was at the peak. They were more famous and everything. But I won singularly because I prepared early. I remember that my predecessor was celebrating his election victory, and I whispered to his ears that day on his election party. I said, I would love to succeed you. He gave me a smile. That smile was, get to work. From that day, I started working. I got the right team. I got the best campaign manager in Uniport, Israel DK, Anosike. Wow, such an amazing guy. Such an amazing guy. Like, I'm thinking about it now because I won't have won without him. I won't have won. There were times when I thought that, and of course I told him that I don't think and he would tell me, Kingston, everything is not money. In fact, he was the first guy that I learned that I heard this word from. Kingston, everything is not money. Build relationships. If you build relationships, you will save more and you will make more. Because what money cannot do for you, relationship will. And that was what gave me the victory. It was his relationship that I leveraged on, me being the underdog, and I won the election. Well, so many stories about that. But what am I trying to say is that many people, in fact, I remember I did a poll on if I should contest when I was in 300 level. And many people laughed it off. I was not given, I remember a girl called me once in blessed memory, Umashime, and she said, Kingston, do you know that I can pick up this race and run? I said, yeah. Do you know that if I should run, I will win you? I said, yes, you will win me. Why? Because she was in the government of the day. She has been in school politics since 200 level till 400 level. So she was always, I was the one that nobody knew me. Most people do not even know me in school. Within my level, many people don't know me because I wasn't really a students person. We took care of ourselves in school. So most of the times we are always out there hustling. Then when we have the time, we'll come to school, learn, and go back hustling. So, school activities, you won't see me. Congress, you won't see me. You won't see me speaking. I was totally oblivious about some of the things that were happening in school because I was not really a school person. So I had there was no chance. Society did not give me. Some of my friends who were with me did not believe that I would win. And when I finally won, it was a shocker. In fact, my HOD, on the day of when we went to give him a courtesy visit, he told me, I've never seen you before. That was how my victory was. That was how shocking it was. So they told this man, you cannot do this. This is Sabbath. Who gave you the authority to get up and walk? It was such a very, very interesting confrontation. For someone who has finally seen the light, you are telling him that he has no right to pick up his bed and walk. Who is telling you that he cannot do it? Who is that person? For most of us, it's not even about who is telling us. It's what are we telling ourselves. Because most of us don't even believe that we can be able to achieve what we're achieving. Most of us don't believe that we can be able to achieve what we are about to achieve or what we've set ourselves to achieve. So there are people who tell us that you can't, and for some of us, we are the ones telling ourselves that we cannot. One of the reasons why I love to use we in this conversation is because I want us to know that I too have been in that situation before, and I understand. There were times when I thought that I was so ugly as a man. Now I have one of the most amazing smiles. If you go to LinkedIn, search for Kingston, Tamuno-omie, you will see check me on IG as well, Facebook. You will see I have one of the most amazing smiles. I've heard people come to me and tell me, "Oh, Kingston, this your smile, it makes me smile when I see you smile." There are many of us who have given hope on ourselves, because for most of us, we came from families where nobody has been able to do that which we want to do. So we have, I remember then when I got into crypto earlier, blockchain technology, and my dad would often ask, some of those questions he asked were not really questions that he wanted to know. It is the question of effrontery. It is the question of what makes you think that this thing you're doing is it. So this man had that particular confrontation. But his response was what was amazing, because we have to see this man from two different lights. First, he was told to get up and he left. Second, he was told to go back to where he was coming from. He told them, the man that healed me was the man that told me to get up and move. It means that conviction that you have is enough to change your situation. That's why I said that the whole world doesn't have to believe in you for it to succeed. The conviction that you have, you as an individual, right? That thing that I've told you. I mean, there were a couple of times when I felt that me coming to Rwanda was a big mistake. And when I had those thoughts, the next thought that will come to my mind is, if you've been in Nigeria, what would you have been doing? And let me tell you the truth, I am more fulfilled here than I had in Nigeria. Probably I made more money in Nigeria, right? I started my company in Nigeria. Every single thing that I built for myself started from Nigeria. But in terms of fulfillment, I've gotten it more here within 1 year. And I spent over 30 years in Nigeria. So what does that mean? When you have that light that tells you to come, bro, sis, respond to it and go. If anybody is trying to stop you, tell them my conviction is enough. Nobody knows the outcome of your life. The only person who has the ability, right, to transform what your life can be, it's you. If you give that to chance, one of the things you will observe is that you will have yourself to blame. Rewards, consequences, and all that are yours to handle. So when you finally find that breakthrough, when you finally get that idea, and mind you, it does not mean that you won't fail. You can have the right idea and still fail at it. Get yourself back up and move. Dust yourself and move. Clean yourself and move. Because society will always have an opinion. Society will always have an opinion on what should work, on how things should be done, on how things have been done. If human beings have been stable enough in life, if nobody had tried to challenge life in life, all of this invention we see today won't have been possible. I mean, what is the essence of creating a plane when we have a camel? Why do I have to enter bullet trains when we have a horse? People challenge society. People challenge status quo. People said it is wrong for us to continue doing this thing, and so you have the responsibility to do that for yourself. But that was what this man was facing. They asked him, who told you to get up? Who told you to go? Then, he did not, as out of he doesn't even know Jesus Christ's name. So sometimes your conviction may not even be clear. Yeah, you don't, I had a colleague last year. We were talking and he said, Kingston, I love clarity. I love clarity before I move. And I understood what he meant. But for most of the times, you don't need clarity to move. Abraham left. There was no destination. There was no location. There was no nothing. He left. Pick up your bag. I will show you a land that I've prepared for you. Picked up his bag and he left. Sometimes all you need is just the idea. Mark Zuckerberg would say something that would forever interest me. Mark Zuckerberg said, and I quote, he said, ideas don't come out fully formed. They only become better as you work on them. That is it. That's all you need. Idea. And you take that push. What's the worst that's going to happen? You're going to fail. That's the worst. what's the best that will happen is that you're going to succeed. And you have to succeed because success and failure are two outcomes that you have control over. Yes, success and failure are two outcomes that you have control over. Yeah, I should have probably made this into a double series, but no. Let me pour it all out, right? If you're able to listen to this point, congratulations. But this man refused to go back. He had seen the light. And shortly after that test, Jesus Christ met him in the temple. And Jesus Christ gave him the last instruction that would change his life forever. Jesus Christ told him, don't sin, or else it will be worse. And what should sin mean? Don't go back. Sin is going back to those things, in this context, to those things that he said you will stay out of. Addiction, masturbation, pornography, lies, depression, alcoholism, drugs, pills. You can count them, bad friends. Some of us have decided to, I was sharing to someone a few days ago, how I gave my life to Christ. And I gave my life to Christ because my best friend then in secondary school, Makana, Nira, gave his life to Christ. So for me, I'm a pastor's son, right? So, really, what is there to give your life to Christ? I don't smoke, I don't drink, I don't womanize, I don't fornicate, I don't masturbate, I don't watch pornography, I don't do all that. So what is there to give your life to Christ about? You get what I'm saying? There have to be an extra reason as to why. And because I didn't want to lose my friends, the urge to become a born-again child of God was there. And I remember April the 9th, 2010, SS2, I gave my life to Jesus, and as I continued to sojourn in life, I began to learn from that experience. I began to pick up lessons from that experience. I began to see the difference of what it means, and there have been challenges along the path, right? But I've stayed true. I brought this out because we have the opportunity to make our lives count, regardless of where we are starting from, regardless of what actually transpired that got us there in the first place, regardless of what situation has revealed to us. For most of us, we have no parents that would support us. When you listen to people like Donald Trump, Bill Gates, Elon Musk, they tell you about how much their parents gave them or how influential. Maybe for some of us, we didn't have. But that does not say that you won't be successful. That does not in any way deny you of success. You have your life to live. You've been in this situation for too long. You have time you need to move. And when we're talking about situation, you know what it is. You know what it can be. It can also be obesity. Right? Because for most of us, we might look into this and we'll be like, well, anyways, I'm comfortable, I have money. For some of us, it can be unhealthy habits. It can be promiscuous lifestyle. Right? We know the situation that we want to change from. And what this has shown to us is that you can. A crack is saying that he won't stop taking crack, and society is saying it's impossible. There's nothing like that. You can stop it if you want to. You can choose to say, you know what, I want to stop this because there's a better version of me. It must not be as dramatic and as divine as the man had experienced Jesus. Maybe this particular podcast is your own Jesus, ushering you and telling you to get up and go. And unless you want to remain where you are, then you should remain. Else, get up and go. Thank you for listening. Kingson representing post Relax and Force podcast.